pod bay doors, please, Hal.
Yeah? Uh-huh. I don't know. I don't know. Oh, you didn't see it? Ross and Rachel got back together. It wasn't that great.
Holy crap! What the hell was that?
Stewie, what are you doing?
They're here.
Who's here?
The TV people. What? No, they did a spin-off. He's still playing Joey, but, is not doing so well.
The pod bay doors are open. Welcome once again. I'm your host, Jerry Dean Roberts of ArmchairOscars.com, ArmchairCinema.com, and OverthinkingOscars.wordpress.com. Here with my co-host on the other side, the critic, dare I say legend, from TalkMovieMe.com, Mr. Doug Heller. How the heck are you today, sir?
I cahoot with no one.
You picked the one good line out of it.
Yeah.
We're going number 2 this week. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen.
This month.
This month we're talking about all number 2 films, all sequels. And today, boy, we're starting off with a doozy. And I should mention also, bad sequels.
Oh, ridiculously.
We're talking this week.
We're not talking Godfather Part 2 here.
No,
we're not talking
no.
Empire Strikes Back.
No.
Today
we've talked about those.
Today we've got Poltergeist II, The Other Side.
The Other Side. Which is more Poltergeist 2 than it is The Other Side. Which is more number 2.
Side because they got to see far less of this.
Yes. If you're a longtime listener to this show, we talked about Poltergeist a few years ago. It was our very first Shocktober. And
it's one of your favorite films.
It is my favorite horror movie. Everybody has their favorites. This is mine. This is one of my favorites. I love this. I love Poltergeist.
Had you ever seen any of the sequels?
I'd seen all of the sequels.
Oh, okay.
A couple of times.
Not.
I saw the remake once. That's all I needed.
Yeah, I have no interest in that.
Yeah, no, thank you. It's got an Oscar winner in it. Go watch his Oscar-winning performance. Just don't stay away from this. Huh?
Who's in that?
Oh, 3 Billboards. What's his name? Sam Rockwell.
Oh, Sam Rockwell, yeah.
But
oh yeah, he did win for that, didn't he?
What's so bad? It's bad enough to have a bad sequel. But when it's a sequel to one of your favorite movies, it hurts a little more. Because the bad sequel just kind of steps on your enjoyment of the first one. And it's kind of, that's what happens here. Because this is a movie that it really has nowhere to go.
No.
The end of the first one didn't really give you any place to go.
So, let me ask you just a quick question here while we're kind of on the cusp between the first film and today's film.
Mm.
I thought that their house was over a native burial ground, not a bunch of crackers sealed in a cave.
No, it was over a town cemetery.
The Native American burial ground is Pet Cemetery.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, then never mind.
No, this is.
And then this cavern wasn't it underneath?
It's apparently underneath that cemetery.
It was underneath the cemetery, yeah.
But if you remember the first one, basically it was kind of the Jaws thing, where the town government or the town was doing something that was, the entrepreneurs were doing something that was underhanded. Jaws, they kept the beach open, and in this one, they moved the town cemetery, but they only moved the headstones.
Yeah.
Which logistically, there's going to be a problem.
Well,
because somebody's going to notice that Dad is not where he used to be, and they're going to ask questions.
Well,
Like,
I
why
mean,
isn't the ground upended next to his headstone, where he should have been moved?
if they go pretty quickly after the resettlement, then yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I yeah, and you made the point. Nobody ever showed up. You know, no news vans. The house
No
disappeared.
neighbors.
No neighbors. Well, I mean, everybody got the hell out of there. Apparently.
That's one thing I love about the opening of this movie. That's the best scene in the movie is when when he goes back to that the Cuesta Verde neighborhood,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody. It looks like it's bombed out because everybody has just pulled up stakes and run. I mean,
Yeah.
they have slapped for sale signs in their front yard. They are gone.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't imagine what happened to that real estate company. Good Lord.
Well, Craig T. Nelson doesn't work there anymore. He's now
Selling vacuum cleaners.
poorly fixing vacuum cleaners and trying to sell them.
Well, anyway, what was your other question?
I think that was my first one. We'll get to any others as they crop up.
I should mention this was directed by Brian Gibson. Not distinguished director except for one thing.
What's love got to do?
What's
with
love
it?
got to do with it?
When I looked up his credits, I'm like, what?
He did not get an Oscar nomination for this, or for What's Love Got to Do with It. But that's about the only thing of distinction that I think he directed.
Yeah.
Other than this.
That I saw, yeah, that was.
And I want to take a short moment to do a little advertising, plugging, as they say, because this movie has a connection with our Patreon film this month. Do you happen to know what that connection is? This has something in common with Star Trek the Motion Picture.
I don't know.
A gentleman by the name of Jerry Goldsmith.
Oh, okay, yeah.
They both did the music for this. And by the way, this week we're dropping our first Patreon fire sale review where we roast a blockbuster. We're talking this month about Star Trek: The Motion Picture.
Yay.
So that's our through line. You know? I found that connection. I was like, wow, hey.
Okay, well,
Okay, so I want to say, you've never seen this.
I had never seen this, and it was nice seeing Geraldine Fitzgerald.
Mm-hmm.
Which actually, in an odd way, I discovered ties into last week's episode of Stardust Memories, because Geraldine Fitzgerald was very close with Maureen O'Sullivan, who was Mia Farrow's mother.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Geraldine Fitzgerald is one of those actresses that you've seen everywhere.
Yeah, when I saw her in this initially, my bells were going off because I remembered a Golden Girls episode,
Mm-hmm.
Mother's Day, that she played this woman that was traveling up to visit her daughter's grave in Minnesota, and she runs into Rose, and it turns out she had gotten away from a nursing home.
Mm-hmm.
And Rose was like, no, she's my mother. We're going. Let's go, Mom. And they go up, and that was Geraldine Fitzgerald. And and I had seen that episode 50 times because of just the way that, it would be on and it would just loop the series. And so as soon as I was like, oh, hey, it's Academy Award nominee Geraldine Fitzgerald here in Poltergeist II.
Yeah. Who's not bad in the movie. Unfortunately, she's not in it very much.
It's one of her last roles, too.
Yeah, unfortunately, she's not in it that much.
No.
This is a movie that just keeps promising so much and delivering nothing. It's like it promises, it builds up to an ending that never really happens very.
I mean, when you say builds up to an ending, that's all euphemism, because it really doesn't build to anything. It starts off, you get 27 minutes of normal stuff.
Mhm.
And from 27 minutes until the end of the movie, it's just nonstop shit happening.
Or it's nonstop. Will Sampson telling everybody, "You got to get ready for the fight. You got to get ready for the fight," and then you get to the fight and nothing really happens.
Yeah. I mean, if they would have known that all Craig T. Nelson had to do was spit on that thing,
Mhm.
they would have done it right at the beginning.
Well, I'll give him credit. I'll give him credit. I hate sequels that just I hate sequels that just repeat a bunch of all they do is repeat stuff from the first one. I hate movies like this. I'll give them this. They do the Native American thing, which I'll say is at least different. I'll say it's at least a different turn from the first one. They at least tried something different.
Yeah.
It didn't work,
No.
but at least, yeah, I give them points for trying. And I should also mention, by the way, the original cut of this was 2 hours and 20 minutes,
Holy God.
which explains a lot. Because I have a feeling that the best parts of this movie were in that cut. Now, I don't know if that was a work print or what, but I have a feeling that the best parts, the meat of this story that made this work was probably in that longer edition.
It probably was. It probably. Maybe what happened is they assembled the outtakes
Mm.
and it got confused and got released.
Or they just, some hack producer went in there and just said, too much dialogue. We need more special effects. Just,
Well, I'll
just
tell you
take
what,
this out and this
honestly,
out and this out.
2 hours and 20 minutes of this movie, if it was on this par,
Mhm.
would have been interminable.
It would have been Zack Snyder's Justice League. It would have had 9 endings. And I'm sitting there going, and! You know, just like I was in Justice League.
Yeah, that took. I mean, you think Return of the King has a lot of endings. Oof.
Well, let's talk about the beginning of this one, because the beginning of this one is very strange. It's like Will Sampson, who I'll say is the best part of this movie,
Mm.
climbs up to the top of this, what is it, a mesa or a butte or something, and there's a weird...
in Monument Valley, which is not anywhere near where they were.
No.
So, like,
He climbs up to the top of this thing, and there's an elderly Native American man who has built a campfire. And there's this sort of Raiders of the Lost Ark thing where all these ghosts are flying around.
yeah.
And I have referred to this, it's the peyote trip of all time, because you're seeing ghosts, the fire turns a different color, the ghosts fly up his nose. It's like...
Yeah. Yeah, that was.
And the old man disappears.
Right. Well, yeah, that was. Yeah, that was odd.
So was the guy a ghost? He just disappeared.
Zelda Rubinstein disappears at the end. She's not a ghost.
Well, that's bad editing.
Yes.
This guy intentionally disappears,
Right. Well, as far as we know.
as far as we know. But we don't have any real idea where the scene's going. But he...
Now, are there subtitles? Were there subtitles on your version?
No,
Okay, good.
not for
Because
this.
there were no subtitles on mine either, and I'm like, boy, this would go a whole lot easier if I knew what the hell they were saying.
Well, they kind of explain it later. It's that, he's building up all of this supernatural shielding, I guess, which is never really used, but anyway.
Except when Craig T. Nelson spits on the tequila worm, and okay.
Well,
Before we get there, the one thing that I want to say about that is, well, two things. One, no one on earth can drink tequila like that.
you have to be a raging
You cannot
alcoholic.
you can't drink tequila and not go,
Yeah.
you can't do it. Straight from the bottle? Okay.
Without cutting it?
Number two, I don't care what kind of demonic possession you have. That motherfucker would not have been able to walk. That was half a bottle of tequila. Jose Cuervo, it wasn't even good tequila.
No, that was not half a bottle. He drank the whole thing.
I mean, you know what I loved? I loved he's staring at it, and you think he's going to come to the determination that what he's doing is not helpful.
Yeah.
Like, he's looking at it, and the look on his face, what Craig T. Nelson's face is telling us is, what am I doing? Oh, this is such a bad decision. I'm screwing everything up. Oh, I'm starting to drink more. I need to get rid of this. No, he drinks the whole thing and then he swallows the worm, which would completely mess you up.
Based on what he's been through, you're lucky it was just tequila. If I'd seen the shit that he had seen...
Well, look, I'm not saying he's not traumatized.
Yeah.
But there's something really big going on, and you don't want to be blackout drunk for it.
Yeah.
Which he would have been blackout drunk at that point.
Yeah.
His liver would have jumped out of his body and slapped him and jumped back in.
Let's kind of get there because I want to talk about this. Because Taylor, I love it when he's driving through the old neighborhood. He has this talisman that just shows him the first movie.
Yeah.
He's got this talisman. He just shows him clips from the first movie.
I also love how it is the noble Native American Taylor. The whitest, Britishest name you could possibly imagine.
Yeah.
Outside of maybe Cecil. Like,
yeah.
or Basil.
Basil.
I know that Native American tribes did start incorporating Western names long, long ago, mostly due to forced assimilation and racism. But it's just funny. It's like, Taylor, no hero has ever been named Taylor. Taylor?
Except,
Taylor?
I think he's trying his best to play this without cliche in a movie that is using Native Americans as a cliche. And
yeah, and the you were bringing this up, and the anti-native racism.
Oh, it's there.
It's all over the place. Well, like you said, I'm surprised there's so much of it. I said I'm surprised. I would have been surprised if it wasn't there.
Well,
it's 1986 and Craig T. Nelson, for crying out loud.
Really, he comes off as the hero in this movie because he's the one when he shows up at where the house used to be, and there's this giant hole in the ground, and they go down. The first thing that comes to my mind when he gets in that cave is, okay, this is California. This is a small cave. If there is the slightest shift in the earth...
Oh, yeah, everybody's dead.
You're going to be buried alive. You're going to be buried with them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he meets Tangina, who I thought like Tangina was gonna have like this team with her or something, because the way she's presented, I thought she was gonna have like like Ghost Hunters or something. Now there's a movie, Tangina with Ghost Hunters, But he goes down and he sees all of these skeletons, and there's one shot. Now, you talked about, when we talked about the first one, do you remember the guy with the chicken wing in his mouth, and he spits it out, and he puts the flashlight on it, and there's all the maggots?
Right.
And you called it a very Dario Argento shot.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they're matching in this scene, but there's a wet skeleton that they cut to who's got, like, slugs coming out of his face and all of this. And I thought that's a very Lucio Fulci kind of shot. And probably the best shot in the most horrifying shot in the movie, because they cut this out in the TV edit.
Oh.
But he goes down there and he has the coolest line. Where's the family now? It's like, this is not over, you know.
Yeah, I do have to give him credit for that he was trying to I don't know, bring a little dignity to this. But when he's doing genuine Native American things like the smudging, or when he is trying to cast off that bad energy from the car and then from himself, right, when he's first introduced, it's all undercut by, well, I'm fine with their people, but this is crazy. It's like,
well, you know, we talked about the first one. We talked about how basically the neighborhood was this giant, overpopulated, overproduced, overspent insult to the landscape. You know, the white people have moved in, they've built suburbs, they've got all their trinkets and toys, and they're living in all this opulence. And it's like, but their house is gone, but those attitudes still remain. His attitude Craig T. Nelson's attitude is still there. It's like,
I love how he still somehow disputes all the stuff that he's seen happen.
He's trying to get past it. I get that.
I guess, but
what I want to know, and this is the movie that I want to see. I want to see the media circus that followed this. The networks on their networks that followed them. Think about this. Consider this. Okay. This is a family that had their house eat itself in front of 20 people, in front of 20 eyewitnesses. Okay?
Yeah.
They are now legendary. They are not a news piece. They are now legends.
Yeah.
Okay? They are the paranormal equivalent of Roswell.
Yeah.
They are going to be talked about for the next 70, 80 years in this legend. There are going to be books. There are going to be TV specials. Steven Spielberg might even make a movie about it.
You're right.
But this has bred a legend. How are they now being hounded day and night? Forget the ghosts. The people, the curiosity seekers, would be even worse than the ghosts.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's why when you brought that up to me, I was like, well, you know, I would be very surprised if the government didn't try to just come in and hush this up.
Yeah. Or
But
something.
the military keep a lid on it and everything. I'm sure that the media never knew.
I'm sure they did. I'm sure, because, I mean, when everybody started getting up, I'm sure it was local media, but when they started getting up, I mean, I can't imagine that the 20 witnesses wouldn't have sold their story to somebody, you know, to make a little bit of, I mean, the Freaky Freelings, the family whose house disappeared. That's a terrific story.
It is,
You know.
as long as Corporal Thomas isn't holding a sidearm at your head saying, if you continue, if you try to sell your story, we're going to kill you.
But I mean, what would the military care about the paranormal? I mean,
I
they
don't know.
might.
They seem to like covering up UFOs.
That's true. That's true. Um,
It would
what
create
I
a
want to
panic.
know.
That's always their thing. We don't want the public to know what's going on.
Well, the family. We catch up with the family. They moved in with Grandma.
To me, it was hilarious that they were living at Grandma's house, and Jo Beth Williams says to Craig T. Nelson, "Don't we deserve a house of our own again?" The next day, the mother's dead.
Yeah,
I'm like, well, that's just convenience.
that's
right
convenient.
there.
Well,
like, oh, you want a house? Well, here you go.
I think if I got it right, I think this is like a year out. So
Well, yeah, because he actually says when they're denying the claim, which is classic Hollywood insurance. You
mhm.
know, the house disappeared, so it's just missing. It's missing. Do they think it's gonna come back? It's been a year.
That's shit that only an insurance company could come up with. You know, I mean, that's just insurance companies will come up with any possible way to not pay out.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is this is I like the inclusion of the insurance company, the idea that they're having problems with the insurance company. What I don't understand is they eliminate a child. Their other child is just gone.
That's right. They had a baby, didn't they?
No, they had their elder daughter.
Oh, well, how old was
Um,
she? I don't even
she was
remember her.
16. She was 16. She was the 16-year-old daughter, and she was the one.
Maybe she's staying with friends nearby so she can finish high school without having to change high schools.
No, well, in the original cut of this, there was a passing mention that she was away at college.
Hmm.
And I believe in the novelization they mentioned that too. But in the movie, they don't even mention her. They don't talk about her. Now the actress that played her, Dominique Dunn, was murdered by her boyfriend
Mm-hmm.
right as the person was coming out. So they didn't want to recast it. They didn't want to,
Right.
but it's just very strange. Like this, if you remember the first one, this hole in this movie is just, this daughter is just not there. So when Taylor's at the end talking about the family bond and all of this, and it's like, okay, but there's one of you that's not here. And it's a little thing. All you got to do is, Craig T. Nelson makes a phone call to check up on her or something,
Yeah.
some kind of mention of something. And
Like,
but they
has
just
this followed her out to wherever the college is? Now, that would be an interesting one, too. They would have to go out to college to get her.
or she worked or she has taken up a job because of what she's seen. She's taken up some studies with that other team
Mm-hmm.
at UC Irvine. That would be an interesting, just an interesting passing,
Yeah.
she's working with Dr. Lesh out at the, UC Irvine, in the paranormal studies department
Yeah.
or something like that. Just something,
Something.
anything.
Yeah.
But she's just erased from this movie.
Yeah.
And just like Ghostbusters 2, we're switching professions because somehow he's gone from being a real estate agent, which he did of his own volition, to selling vacuum cleaners door to door.
Yeah. In 1986. who was buying buying a door-to-door vacuum cleaner? Like, you go to Sears or something for
Walmart or something.
well, in 1986 in
It's Kmart.
California there wasn't. Yeah, Kmart. Yeah, Kmart.
But you go to the store to buy a vacuum. Nobody sells vacuum
Kmart,
cleaners door to
Ames.
door.
Yeah, who does that? And then he's like, it's not even working. He's like, well, how
Yeah.
am I supposed to sell this? Well, how did you break it in the first damn place? Where did it come from? Why do you have to fix it and then resell it? Did you buy it from someone broken? Like, what is this?
Well, here's what I don't get is now there's a I guess it's supposed to be a cute little joke here. He won't buy a TV.
Yeah.
And so they're listening to the baseball game on the radio, and the son is like, "Why would you just buy a TV?" And he said, "No, no TVs." And yeah, that's a cute little thing, but it's like, okay, you don't want a TV, but you want a vacuum cleaner. Vacuum cleaners around.
Ah. But I mean, of course you know why he doesn't want the television.
So yeah,
I mean, I wouldn't either. If my baby girl got taken through a television, I wouldn't really want to have a
I wouldn't really
television in
want
the
a
house.
TV set either. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Don't they? I mean, at the end of the first one, they put it outside of the motel room.
That's a great scene, by the way.
Yes. um,
Just slams it out on
yeah.
on the terrace on the balcony.
But you know, the whole thing. It felt like they said, "What's the most depressing, most pitiful thing you could possibly imagine for work?" And
Selling vacuum cleaners door to door.
well, they took it up from a lot of the probably terrible menial jobs that they wouldn't have given a white person in the 80s in a movie. And then came up with,
Legal.
right,
Legal.
right. Then they came up with, yeah, door-to-door vacuum cleaner salesman, mid 80s or even early 80s. Still, by the 70s, that was gone.
Well, hell, I mean, it's the '80s. Why isn't he trying to sell a security system or something?
Yeah.
Something that you would sell door to door. You know, work for a roofing company. I don't know, something,
Work
anything.
for the cable company. Who
A
cares?
cable company,
You know,
yeah.
because cable was
Well, he wouldn't work for the
expanding.
cable company because he wouldn't have anything to do with TVs.
But you know the point. He could work. He could have worked anywhere, and they still could have had no money.
Okay. Also, something that comes to nothing. Carol Ann apparently is psychic,
Oh, and so is the mother.
and we didn't know that. We didn't. The first movie never mentions the Diana psychic. Never really mentions the Carol Ann psychic either. It mentioned that she was in touch with something on the other side, but it never mentions. There's a cute scene where they're at a picnic, and the grandmother is crocheting, and she asks her for, give me the red yarn, and she reaches into the basket and hands her the red yarn, but she never looks at it.
Right.
So, okay, now give me the green yarn. She reaches in, she hands it. They never really do anything with that. It never goes anywhere,
No.
like most of this movie.
Yeah. This movie. This movie is a series of scenes that start and never actually end.
It's a movie that doesn't have a place to go. It's a lot of stuff.
Right.
It's just a pile of stuff.
Right. And all of it at fever pitch, virtually from the word go, to distract you from the fact that they don't have a story.
They don't have a story at all. And it's leading to a 3-minute ending that is absolutely nothing. We got to talk about the villain, because the villain's actually kind of cool. He's not in the movie enough, but he's actually kind of cool. They're being followed. Your child came back from the other side. You're going to watch that kid like a hawk. That kid is going to be in your peripheral vision for the rest of until she is 18 and able to go out on her own. Okay? And so is the son.
Arguably, probably longer.
Yeah. but you are watching that kid for basically the rest of your natural life. And so what do? They go to a shopping mall and they lose her. This is just bad parenting, okay? This is just...
And they're just like, oh, we just popped into a store. I thought you were right behind me.
How about why not put it right in front of you?
Well, look.
This villain, I gotta say, I don't know. This villain apparently, I'm guessing that only they can see him because he walks through people, and I don't get it. It's like, are they just?
Yeah, I don't really either. And
this Jimmy Carter talking motherfucker, you know.
who is trying his damnedest to be Robert Mitchum in Night of the Hunter and
Yes.
failing miserably. Like, miserably.
Like a child molester. God.
Yeah.
It's like,
And, like, my
are you lost, honey? How about I sing you a song? You know?
till your mama comes back. No! No!
Leave this child alone.
No! If I were that age, like, that's scarier than being alone.
The first thing you need to teach Carol Ann when she comes back from the other side is stranger danger.
Danger, seriously. How old is she, 7? I mean, come on. And he's taking her hands, and it's like, dude, no. Boundaries.
Yeah. It's like, you're not good at this.
Boundaries. Man.
He's like from the 1820s. He's looking around. He's just baffled. He's like surprised that black people are actually walking around by themselves. Like, he's surprised by the world.
I'm stunned that they got photos of them before
photography
were invented.
Because she said, Tangina says 1820s.
Right, this is early 1800s, and it's...
Photography was in 1848.
Yeah.
Right around there, you know.
So...
But...
I guess that's
he looks a little bit peculiar walking around a mall dressed like this, you know? And then he walks through somebody, and it's like nobody notices. I don't get there's no logic here.
No, they don't play by any of the rules that they set up in the first one. Hell, they don't play by any of the rules that they set up in this one. Like, oh, this is how like, okay, so Taylor basically puts all of everything, succeeding or failing, on the backs of 3 individual people who don't know that the other 2 people have been told that they are the only people that can fix this.
Right.
He tells Steven, he's like, you've got to take on everything, the entire world, everything that's wrong in the world. I'm like, he's got to be Jesus? Is he supposed to die for our sins? Like, what is this? And then Carol Ann is the only one that can do anything about it, and then Diane is the only one that can do anything about it. I don't know if this was just different stages.
And he tries to recruit Robbie to do that.
Yeah,
it's like,
I mean, I don't know if this is just different stages of the script where they didn't quite know what character they wanted to put out in front, so they just cut it all together, or if this was some kind of a strategy.
Well, I'll tell you who they didn't want to I'll tell you who they didn't want to put out in front. That's the oldest daughter, because she's apparently not in the family anymore. You know, just...
I respect out of the decision
out of respect
to not
for the actress
recast, but yeah, they should have said something.
Just 2 lines.
Yeah.
2 lines. You know, one word. Dana's away at college, and you know we're out here. Something. You know, he makes a phone call to check up on her. How you doing? Yeah, so okay.
best character, best moment in the movie for me, the golden retriever fighting the electrical wire
Isn't it beautiful?
and winning,
E-Buzz. Go E-Buzz.
not dying. I was
Go E-Buzz.
I was so happy that he got into the car. I'm like, okay, all right, good. They didn't kill the dog for no reason. That's nice.
And I got to mention this also, and it's we were talking about the tequila.
There's a reason why they say 1 tequila, 2 tequila, 3 tequila floor.
Yeah. Well, if you recall, they were smoking pot in the first one.
Yeah.
Okay, based on what they've been through, I think they'd move up to harder stuff. But
Seriously, you're lucky they're not shooting up heroin in an opium den. Like, they travel back to the 1920s to get to a Chinatown opium den while they shoot
Right.
up and do coke. Like, that's where I would be. Like, 8 balls every half hour. Like,
well, I don't know. I'm looking at hippie granny over there. She looks like she might have a stash. I might have a little,
well, hey, just smoking some grass is not a big deal. But
well, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
She might have a
I mean, she might have some Percocet.
in a cigar box under the bed. Yeah. Because she looks like the coolest granny you've ever seen. I mean, she just. But she also looks like the kind of person that would have like a psychic reading parlor or something, or clairvoyant.
She's the kind of grandmother that would when a baby's teething would take the whiskey and
Put it on their gums.
No, it's for the baby. Oh, okay. Here, drink up.
Well, you remember the first one when the daughter is kidnapped, the doctor, the scientist and Diane are passing the whiskey bottle back and forth.
Yeah.
You remember? So
These people can drink like nothing, man.
yeah.
Like, how is Steven still standing?
Yeah. Well, they have some kind of supernatural moment, and Taylor shows up. And he shows up at their house. Basically, it's like I don't know whose idea it was to have him sleep in a teepee out on the front lawn, but I have a feeling that was Steven's idea.
It was a regular tent, and it was in the backyard.
I have a feeling that was Steven's idea. It's like he's like, no, I can go get a hotel or something. I mean, I've got friends I can stay. Nope. Tent in the backyard.
Now, see, my thought was he probably said, I can stay here with you. He goes, you can stay at the backyard. Because I don't know you, and I got kids.
Yeah. We've already run into a child molester at the shopping mall. Thank you.
Right, exactly.
But this is where the racism creeps into this movie, because like, he tells Diane, he says sometimes, he says, I read Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee in high school. Oh my God.
And I almost got through all of the chapters. I have nothing against their people. I mean, I read Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee, and I got through almost all the chapters. But this is just weird.
It's okay. I think I may be 1/16 on my mother's side.
Oh, God. Although she would never admit it. So, and then it's like, so they take this guy into their house, right?
Well, here's the funny thing. The first thing out of his mouth should have been, Tangina sent me.
Yeah.
That should have been the first words out of his mouth.
But yeah, it's like a half a day later. He's like, "Oh yeah, Tangina sent me." It's like, "Oh,
Yeah,
oh,
it should have
okay."
been, hello, I'm Taylor. Tangina sent me. That should have been the intro.
Right, right, right.
You know, this woman saved their lives. This woman saved their child from the other side.
Right.
And he says, again, being prejudiced, says, say hello to the magic munchkin. And I'm like, wait a minute. Now, this is supposed to be a character we're supposed to like?
Yeah, I know. Like,
But then again, I mean, in the first one, when she walks in, he says to the doctor, you know, what side of the rainbow are we working tonight? So, I mean, it's been ingrained since, since the first one. But, you know,
I don't know. Like, you know, the part, the racism that bothered me, I think probably. Well, I mean, it all bothered me pretty much. But when Diane goes out and he's painting up, what's the kid's
Robbie.
name? Robbie. And
he has the dumbest line reading. I'm going to help protect the family.
so, okay, so hear me out on this one. So, they've taken this man into their house. Presumably, they are trusting him with their safety.
Yeah.
Right? But she comes out and gets all racist. Oh, it's not a man who doesn't take war paint and scratches. And he goes, well, how do you know? You're not a man. It's like, what is going on here?
Who are these people?
What is happening right now?
The intention is there. The execution doesn't work.
No, like I thought she was going to come up and be like supportive of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, he's helping Robbie get prepared too, because Robbie is really the one that nobody cares about.
Right. No.
The man, the kid,
Dana is the one that nobody cares about because she's not even in the movie.
The one that's seen in both of these movies that I've seen, they couldn't give a rat's ass about Robbie. Like he is seriously their second afterthought in every situation.
They moved all of their crap out of the house into a moving van, and they left the clown. And they left the clown sitting there. They don't care about him.
No.
I mean,
They don't. And so I thought she was going to be out there. She's going to come up and she's okay. Somebody is helping Robbie prepare. That's great. The man that seems to know what he's doing, Tangina sent him. No, she comes out and goes on this big old racist screed about how moms are there to protect the family, and she is like words off of that white supremacist nonsense that the old man says to Craig T. Nelson on the front porch. I'm part of an organization who is concerned about about families of your makeup who are in trouble.
yeah. Do you burn crosses at all?
I mean,
well, I get what she's saying. I do get it. Again, the execution is all wrong. I get what she's saying because basically what she's saying is I want my kids to have a normal life. I want to get my kids back. But I understand.
that was the single most racist thing anybody says in this movie outside of the preacher talking about being in the Klan. Do you know why? Because she says to the native who is putting traditional
To Taylor.
Who was putting traditional war paint on her son, that her job is to make sure that they live a normal life with a house and family and all this. I'm like, you just want them to be cookie cutter white people. God damn. Like, we don't need any of this multiculturalism. That's too weird. We want them to be straight up white and not have anything to do with you.
I heard I want them to grow up without all this supernatural bullshit.
I saw
But I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
You can kind of hear it underneath.
Yeah.
You know. But it is kind of strange, you know, the way that this is played out, because if you're trying to get your kids back to normal, and by the way, I got to ask you this: how many hours of therapy a week do you think these kids are getting, or should be getting?
Not enough. But again,
You know,
it's
if it's under 4 hours, I don't know.
I guess it's like what 1983 if it's only a year after the
Yeah.
So I mean, they didn't really put kids into trauma therapy then. They just said, well, they'll grow out of it.
Yeah, that'd be all right.
And then they
But, I
murder
mean, this-
16 people by the time they're 25. You know,
Yeah.
and
School
and then
shooting.
they wonder why.
Yeah. But by the way, Grandma dies. And I
And then
think
she calls
Carol
Carol Ann on the toy phone. That was cute.
That was cute. And then the phone turns into the Ark of the Covenant, and
Look,
Well-
the special effects in this and the process shots
Mhm.
are so bad here.
yeah, Yeah.
So bad. Like you can see the matte lines on the worm creature when he's fighting Craig T. Nelson. They're not in the same room together.
or when he walks through that person at the shopping mall.
Yeah. It's like
Um,
you can almost see the glass panel
yeah,
with the house, and then behind it the glass frame with the storm brewing up. Like you can almost see the separations on the film. Like, it is done so poorly on whatever kind of optical printer they were using.
the cloud cover and all of that stuff. I haven't seen Raiders of the Lost Ark in a little while.
I was actually thinking about watching that yesterday.
I don't remember if the cloud cover at the end of that movie was like this. You know, the fire and all of that stuff. I don't remember, because I remember it being pretty good. I don't remember it being this dated. But the visual effects were nominated for an Academy Award. Hate to say it, but
It was also 1986. What else did they have?
well, think about this. Well, I want to go back to this because the grandma dies.
Mhm.
Carol Ann gives her the kiss of death.
Right. She goes in and she basically just goes in, kisses her, and that was it. Then she breathes her last.
Well, what you missed is in the longer cut, when she walks in and kisses her, in the longer cut, she actually says to her, "Grandma, you broke my heart. You broke my heart." You know, Grandma wasn't moving the grass fast enough, and
Right.
you know, they ordered the hit. And,
Carol Ann, she comes up and I knew it was you.
it broke my heart. It wasn't personal.
No,
It was
it
not
was just
personal.
business.
Just business. Carol Ann's headed for a career in the mafia. And it started with Grandma.
Mafioso ballerina. Be fair.
Yes. That's her hitman name, the ballerina.
The ballerina, yeah. She always sneaks in on her toes, you know.
There's like a Lefem Nikita version of this, where Carolyn becomes a hitman or a hit woman. The ballerina, the pirouette of death.
And somehow she's a Russian sleeper agent, because why
Yes.
not?
Oh no, no, no. Those blonde hair, blue eyes. Yeah, that ain't Russian.
Oh yeah, she's totally Third Reichen. She
But
relocates to
no,
Argentina.
it's like they have again another a ghost attack, and they run. I love this scene because they run to this diner, and it's 4:30 in the morning. And again with the booze, he's already cracked open a beer.
Right, yeah, at the diner there, yeah.
By the way, these two women sitting at this bar at the counter at this.
What is
I
going
want to
on?
see
Like, yeah.
the John Sayles movie that's going on over there. I want to see this.
The only thing I can compare them to, and this is a lofty comparison. Do you
Hmm.
remember the two cricket fans in The Lady Vanishes?
Hmm.
Them.
Yeah, yeah.
But I'm with you. I would love to see whatever is going on. Well, you bring them to my house, blah blah blah. Yeah, I'd like to see
The
whatever's going
independent
on.
movie that's going
Yeah,
on in that
yeah.
corner of the diner, and the fact that the mother just looks like it's the mother has this look on her face like if there weren't 20 people in this thing, I would turn around and pop you right now. Because apparently she has a boyfriend and the daughter doesn't like the boyfriend. And they're sitting at this. She has my favorite line in the whole movie because she is suddenly possessed by grandma.
Mm-hmm.
And she ambles over to the table and she says something in the grandmother's voice
Right.
that it's still following you. You got to go back. And Jo Beth Williams just, Mama, and the
Yeah.
lady there says, "I'm not your mother, lady."
Yeah.
She goes back, and Mom's like, "You went all funny for a minute." With all the ghost shit going on in this movie, you had to possess somebody else to talk to them.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
But they go outside, and Taylor is like waiting for them.
Yeah.
And he says something about, "Are you and Tangina in cahoots with these those two ladies in there?"
I cahoot with no one.
I cahoot with no one.
Best line in the movie.
But there's a weird scene also where Tangina comes to the house again, kind of crapping on little people. There's a sinister overtone because she knocks on the door and there's like nobody there.
Right, and then she knocks again. It's supposed to be like this misdirection, but it's like, oh, hey, it's Tangina. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I thought it would. Yeah, and she's there to show her the photographs, and she gets all upset.
And,
I thought, what would have been really funny if like, because I mean they owe Tangina their lives.
mm-hmm.
She in that first movie, I mean, she marches into that first movie like a rock star.
Mm-hmm.
She marches forward and she's just standing there and she says, "You don't mind hanging back? You're jamming my frequencies." I mean, she just takes over the back half of that movie. Yeah. Wouldn't it be really funny if she knew what they owed her and she just becomes this giant mooch? I did save your family. You could at least make me a sandwich. I need a place to stay for a couple of days or a couple of months, maybe.
We're all full up here. Oh, I understand. It's not like I saved your entire family from damnation and on the other side of that nobody else could have gotten to. It's not like that happened. So.
Well,
all right,
Diane, you might, your refrigerator's getting a little low, and so is your liquor cabinet. You might want to take care of that. And by the way, you might want to go get a mop, Diane, because this house is not clean.
I like that we've basically turned Zelda Rubinstein into Rubenstein into Leslie Jordan.
Yeah. Yes. Going to America. She's moved into the house. They can't get rid of her. You know, Oh, but I want to talk about this scene where Kane shows up because the actor Julian Beck was dying of stomach cancer when they made this. He was a very respected stage actor and founded his own theater company. And he had stomach cancer, and it was so bad that in certain scenes they didn't even apply makeup because his face was so sallow. But he does give a performance here. I'll give him this. He does give a performance here. Unfortunately, the scene where he shows up at the door, it's really his last scene.
Oh, then he's Substance. Yeah, yeah.
That's it.
Because the rest of it is just like kind of pickup shots,
visual effects,
pickup shots of him yelling at people.
Right, right. But he he's like this demonic 19th century Jimmy Carter. You know, I get around. I do get around. I love talking to people, even on a rainy day.
Just terrifying.
And he goes to the door and he's like racist and like, you know, trying, and apparently has vampire rules.
Yeah, like he
can't come in.
He has to be invited in. I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah, and he starts to mesmerize or hypnotize Steven and all of this. But again, he disappears for the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
Except for pickup shots. And I think that may be part of the problem with the battle at the end is they didn't have the actor.
Yeah.
It might have been, but but let's talk for a second about the tequila.
Oh, do we have to talk about this? Is just the most
You
disgusting
already mentioned the tequila. He is tossing this back, and he says,
he's drinking it like it's an
him,
iced tea. Like,
would you like some tequila? And he.
I thought he said, "Do you want some, to Taylor? You want some tequila? It'll kill you."
It'll kill you,
That's
something
what I
like
heard.
that, or something like that. Again, assuming that a Native American man he's drinking.
Well, he said, "I used to drink, but I had to give it up."
But again, he's tossing this back. He's not cutting it at all.
No, he's drinking it directly from the bottle.
There's no seltzer water. He's not using a glass or anything.
He's like wild bunching this thing. He's like, if there was a cork, he would pull it out with his teeth. You know, he's
right.
And
he's
tequila.
basically
It's not
he's
even.
kind of drinking PGA almost.
Yeah, I mean, it's not even like whiskey or something where you see people do it. Who drinks tequila out of a bottle? Who that's not a raging alcoholic drinks tequila out of the bottle? And why is this not a point of, like, concern for Diane?
The only time she mentions it is, he says, I have certain needs, and she says, your needs are at the bottom of a bottle. You know, that's the only time.
Maybe
he
keeps drinking. Alcoholic.
He keeps drinking this stuff. We get an extreme close-up of the Freddy Krueger worm that is in this tequila bottle that has a red eye.
Opens its eye, and holy crap, that's disgusting. And then he's drinking.
He downs the worm.
Yeah. Like, I've never done the tequila worm.
Yeah.
But I understand that that will get you really messed up.
Really?
Because it's so, I guess, in there, it's in the fermentation process, like through the whole thing. And apparently it does some trippy things to you. So
Yeah.
the fact that he had that, I mean, immediately he starts choking. He tries to get it back up.
Well, he attacks Diane because
Yes,
he's
he tries to rape
possessed,
Diane. Yeah.
and because it's not him, it's Kane,
Mm-hmm.
and I want to hear this sort of commentary while he's in Steven's head. It's like, boy, you really need to take care of yourself. You might start by changing your underwear. I'd lay off the red meat if I were you.
Yeah, it's the whole.
But he starts to cough and then choke and then retch. And up comes the tequila, and up comes the worm tequila, and the worm tequila has grown into this Freddy Krueger-looking thing.
Tequila could only have gotten out of his mouth if he were a python.
Yeah.
And he were
And
able
unhinged
to
his
unhinge
jaw.
his jaw. Yes.
But he barfs it up. It's this
and
weird.
You can see the rods and the cables on it behind.
Yeah. It's this weird Lovecraft-looking thing.
That is seriously the most disgusting, yet also the most inventive thing in this movie.
It is played by an actor, by the way. His name is Noble Craig. I think he was in Vietnam. Lost both legs and an arm, and his right arm, and had a pretty successful career. He was in one of the Reanimator movies. He played Freddy at one point, and he has a short list of things on the IMDb, but he did work in movies for a little while, and he died 2 years ago. But he took that disability and made a career out of it. Used it for a career. And but what I love is that when the vomit creature turns around and looks at them, it's sort of this weird smile, like
yeah.
And it disappears.
The only other creature that I could say has a similar entrance is the chest burster from Spaceballs.
Water my ass! Get this guy some Pepto-Bismol!
Hello, my baby. Hello, my honey. Hello, my ranker. Oh, no. Not again.
No, not again. Well, the thing disappears, and it chases them out of the house.
Because he spits on it.
Yeah. And because he spits on it. He spits the peyote ghost on it. And which he got from a sweat lodge. Which, if a man is being this racist about a Native American, don't take him to a sweat lodge.
Seriously. I mean, the first thing out of his mouth is, well, I like the health club. I'm just wondering when I get my key to the locker. Shut the fuck up.
This is not where he really should be.
Get out of here. Just go.
And he gets the peyote ghost up the nose, which he uses here. They get chased down into the garage to leave, and they're attacked by a chainsaw and some electrical wires.
So the chainsaw.
This was originally, by the way, supposed to be in 3D.
How on earth does that not go through the engine block?
Or the hood of the car.
It does go through the hood at one point, but it's holding it near things, and that's about the extent of it. It takes forever to get through a thin sheet metal roof. If it didn't want it to leave, it shouldn't have put the chain on the bumper. It should have just gone through the engine block with the chainsaw or started cutting wires. I mean,
What is this car made of? Because this car takes a beating.
I don't.
It's a station wagon.
Yeah, I mean, it's an old Woody, and
Yeah.
well, those things were built to last, man.
Yeah. And of course the dog takes go
That
doggy.
was great.
Yeah.
That was my favorite part is that the dog
What
didn't
I
die.
love is what happens next because he drives he backs the car out through the garage door. Try that sometime. It's not unless your garage door is made of balsa wood, it's not going through the door like that.
Those doors were wooden. It wasn't
Mhm.
like a normal garage door, so maybe
Mhm.
maybe.
Well, he backs out, and the driveway is like one of those with the rock walls on either
Yeah.
side, which I hate those. But he's bouncing back and forth on each side. He gets out into the street and turns around in the neighbor's
Yeah.
yard, in the neighbor's yard across the street. Steven, what are you doing? You're tearing up my lawn. You know, I got a lot of shit going on. My house ate itself, and I'm being chased by ghosts. Bye.
I just threw up a tequila worm that had mutated into some sort of a beast man. Into a demon man with his ribs on the outside and little tentacle legs.
And I just spit ghosts at it and got you run out by a chainsaw. Your lawn will survive.
Right, yeah,
okay?
yeah.
You can rebuild.
I'll get you reseeded.
I'll show you the bill for my jaw, okay?
This thing was terrible.
But they head out to where Cuesta Verde, and they have the big fight, and the fight is nothing.
Right. It's just they're in a cave and some things happen and then it's over. It's like
Well, they go into the fire, and they're on the other side,
yeah,
and
they grab each other and then they come back and then that's it.
the whole family, the
Yeah.
unit, the whole family's here. It's like, yeah. All four of us.
Whole family.
Dana, I'm sorry. We got to pull you out of college just for a couple hours. Just, I know you got class, but yeah, I'm sure your professor will understand. Don't even explain to her what's going on. It's what happened to the car? Don't worry about it.
So yeah, and then Tangina.
The last hour of the movie is just a build up to nothing.
Yeah.
It's a build up to this piece of nothing.
The whole movie is a build up to nothing. I mean, and then I thought it's hilarious. Did you see this when you watched it the second time when I brought it up? They're coming up out
What's
of the
that?
hole. There's Taylor, Steve,
Oh yeah, I saw that. Yeah,
Diana, Carol Ann, Tangina, Robbie.
Tangina is with Carol Ann.
Right, so they walk over to this fence, right?
Uh-huh.
This whole area was fenced in. And they're hugging, and you see Carol Ann being hugged really deep by Tangina, and she's in the group there, and Taylor walks off screen, and Steven follows him. And the last shot you see is like they're all together, and then it cuts to those two talking, and when it cuts back, none of them would have moved, and Tangina is gone.
Gone. She is not there.
Just gone.
Mhm.
And I'm like, did she get into the car? Is
Did she go back in the hole?
Taylor gonna take her home? Is she non-corporeal? Like,
Mhm.
and then it's like, oh, well, he drove off. Well, she could give him a ride. Oh, wait, she vanished into thin air.
Mm-hmm. Like the guy in the beginning of the movie sitting around the campfire.
Yeah.
But it's a stupid ending because Steven says, "Here, you can have my car." And I'm like, okay, how do you expect to get out of
That's
here?
exactly it. Yeah, he's like, okay, well, you can have it. Why doesn't he say, I'll give it to you when we get to a car dealership.
Yeah.
Or why don't you drive us somewhere so that we can get a bus somewhere?
Yeah.
Or something.
Or something. It's like it's this weird comedy ending. It just feels weird. It's like feels off. It's like Steven, how are we supposed to get home? And they start chasing it, and he says something about Steven. It's like Taylor, the car needs me again.
Yeah,
Something like
yeah.
that. And it's this comedy ending. I guess they're trying to overturn what happened in the first one when it kind of had a sad ending. I guess, and it doesn't work. It's stupid.
Yeah.
The whole movie is stupid. It's a collection of just stuff.
Yeah. Stupid
You
stuff.
know. Yeah. I'm sure I would actually sit through the 2 hour and 20 minute version of this just to see if there's a better movie in here. But I have a feeling it's just a collection of other shit.
Right. I don't think that this. I think the concept of this and the script of this was just unredeemable.
Right.
I can't imagine that there's something good and they cut around the good parts and released the out.
Well, the first one had such a great structure because you introduce the family, they kidnap the daughter, they bring in the psychic team. The psychic team realizes that this is, oh my God, this shit is real. So they bring in a real psychic. She takes care of the problem. The beast comes back and tries to kidnap the daughter again, and they run away, and this thing eats the house. There's at least a structure there. Here, there's not a structure because there are no rules.
I mean,
this is just
this definitely would have benefited by the sure and steady hand of Steven Spielberg Hooper.
Yeah.
Of Toby Steven Spielberg Hooper.
You mean Toby Hooper, basically.
Okay, sure, yeah, great.
Yeah, sure.
Because he directed the first one, sure.
Yeah.
Sure he did.
Oh, I hate this movie.
Yeah, it's really bad.
They actually, you're not going to believe this, but they actually get progressively worse.
How many more did they make? I know that the girl that
This is bad.
the girl that played
Okay.
Carol Ann died after the third one.
Died during the third one.
Yeah.
But they made this, which was bad. Poltergeist 3, which was worse. And believe it or not, they did a remake, which was even worse than that. They do get progressively worse. And it's really bad watching this collection of films when you hold the first movie in such high regard. I mean, it just
Well, it's like, watching, the Jaws.
yeah.
Anything after
Yeah.
Jaws, the first Jaws, anything after
Another Spielberg production.
anything after the first Psycho.
Mhm.
You can't really get back to that.
No.
Even the Indiana Jones movies never make it back to Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Well, at least the Indiana Jones movies at least are a series of adventures.
Right. I'm not.
So there's
I'm not
not-
saying that as a disparaging comment, but
Mhm.
Raiders is still the best of that series. And
Yes.
They were
Well, because it was so new.
right. But these kinds of things, the sequels. First of all, they're concocted just out of a money grab.
Mhm.
Virtually every time.
Mhm.
There's only a select few sequels that aren't based on a series of novels or something that aren't cash grabs, like Incredibles 2.
The best sequels elevate to they elevate to they take the characters, they take the situations, and they try something new, and they're really trying. Godfather 2. you know,
Empire Strikes Back.
Empire Strikes Back, The Dark Knight.
Mm-hmm.
They take them to a different place and they try other things. They're not just repeating. They're not Home Alone.
Right.
Because the problem with Poltergeist is there's really no place to go.
Right. If because they basically resolved the story.
Yeah.
So then they had to come up with some other reason that it was still stalking them.
Right.
And
But they didn't really care what the story was.
right.
They had this actor giving an ebullient, a big performance, and they felt like, okay, that's all we really need.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just there's not a movie here. It's
No.
just like it's a strung together bunch of ideas.
Right. Each scene feels like they got into work that morning and said, "Wouldn't it be cool if we?" And then that's how they.
Why
made
don't we
that
give
scene.
Diane a scene where she has a nightmare where she's being attacked by zombies that has nothing to do with anything?
Other than cluing us in that she's still psychically traumatized by what happened to her when she went through
In the swimming pool.
Caroline. Yeah, and in the swimming pool. I don't know. It's a craptastic movie. What do we have coming up next week?
He doesn't know. Next week we have a movie that was so bad it was cited by it ended up being a comment in Rick and Morty as a joyless cash grab. Next week it's Men in Black 2. Probably, very likely, one of the shortest films we've ever talked about. It is 72 minutes long.
Yeah, it is. It is not a long movie, and I still regret that I saw it in the theater.
Did you see it when you saw it in the theater? Was it packed with trailers?
I seriously don't remember.
I remember sitting through at least 30 minutes of trailers and a short film because they were trying to
Pad the running time. There was no movie.
Right.
So yes.
Well, they cut the ending off because of 9/11.
Right. But yeah, so we're doing that next. Or do we want to reveal the other ones coming?
Nah.
Okay.
We're gonna do this week, but we're gonna dole out the pain week by week because I still got one that I'm flip flopping on.
Well, I'd like to know which one that is, so that I can find
You'll
what
know.
we're gonna do. I think that does it here for us on the Pod Bay Doors. We can be heard, all of our back episodes, on the Pod Bay Doors podcast.wordpress.com. You can listen to us on YouTube. Hit the like, subscribe, and notifications buttons, and subscribe to us on iTunes. Leave your 5 stars and your comments there, your positive comments. We greatly appreciate it. You can find us on Twitter at pod_bay. Copy and paste that over on our Patreon, and after May 1st, you'll be able to hear our fire sale review of Star
That's
Trek
this week.
the Motion Picture. Yes. So
Star Trek: The Slow Motion Picture.
So
We had a lot of fun recording that.
So that about wraps everything up here for us. We thank you so very much for joining us, and the Pod Bay Doors are now closed.
The mission has been completed.
Tangina.